down at the park, it's time to turn on the lights, because the Danbury Westerners are playing tonight. They'll be swinging their bats and they'll be hitting home runs. It's a night of excitement and family fun.
Welcome, sports fans, to another edition of Westerners Roundup.
That's right, folks. Good evening. Welcome here to the Westerners Roundup. For those of you, you're probably shocked that we're still on the air, but the boys are playing some good baseball. After a win yesterday, they move on to the semifinals to take on North Adams tonight up in Massachusetts and return to action on Friday at Rogers Park. I'm Brian Irizzary. Welcome here to the Westerners Roundup. We got a great show in store for you. We have the catcher, Mike Williams. He decided to show up this time. We have the left-handed pitcher, the stud from yesterday, Sean Hagen. And, of course, the manager, Jamie Shevchik, has decided to come on the air, and we'll talk to Shev in a little bit. But we'll start off with the boys. Mike Williams, thanks for showing up, man.
Oh, I appreciate it. Thought I'd show up this time for you.
And then Sean Hagen, great job yesterday. We'll dive into that in a little bit from St. John's. Welcome, you boys. Let's talk about the game yesterday. You guys didn't allow any runs. The offense, you scored just 2 runs, but that was enough to wind up moving on to the semifinals. Tough series, though, as home field advantage really didn't take precedence until yesterday.
Correct. Bristol was a good team. They came out sharp Monday. We came out kind of lazy. Picked it up Tuesday, the next 2 games, and came out on top, so it's good stuff.
All right, let's talk to you, Sean. 9 innings, no runs, 3 hits scattered, 2 walks, 6 strikeouts. That's pretty solid.
Yeah, I mean, I'd have to say that's definitely probably one of the best games I've ever pitched in my life. Chev actually tried to pull me after the 8th, and
Oh yeah, what'd you tell him?
I told him absolutely not. I mean, what I told him exactly probably couldn't be said on the air, but I told him, I was feeling really good, and leave me in there. I told him there was no shot. I was doing ball bucket today if he took me out, but unfortunately he left me in, so I'm going to have to do that now. But it was worth it. I mean, my arm felt good. I was surprised on short rest. I haven't really thrown on 3 days rest since I was in high school, so it was kind of new for me. I was, wasn't sure how it was going to turn out, but everything felt good.
It seemed like you guys had some good chemistry going on during the middle of the innings. Even though there was a lot of game left, it seemed like Bristol was kind of panicking, swinging out a lot of first pitches, or just pitches in the dirt, and just you had a couple 1, 2, 3 innings. So, what did you notice, Mike, from the catching standpoint, that these guys were coming up, and did they seem nervous, like in the box, and kind of the urgency that they wanted to get something going?
Early on, they were kind of patient. They took pitches, and then later in the game, they're like, "Oh, we're down 2-0. We need to figure something out." So they tried to, I guess, be more aggressive. Didn't really work because Sean was on. He threw it where he wanted, and it's history now.
Yeah. The one thing that I noticed looking at their dugout, I mean, there was no buzz at all. Guys were sitting back, lounging in the chair, and you could totally tell just from the body language that they didn't feel any sort of energy going into the game. And even though there were still good innings to play, 5 innings, 4 innings, they couldn't get anything started. Talk about what you used yesterday and how you kept them off balance.
I mean, I used all 4 of my pitches. For the most part, my curveball was on, which usually isn't for the most. Usually really wasn't working that well. Usually I'm like a slider-dominated pitcher, and my curve seemed to work, so that kept them off balance. My fastball was spotting it up. But again, they never really seemed to get any momentum. They would get guys on base, but nothing would really ever develop. The most they would have is 1 or 2 guys on base. They never had bases loaded. When they had a guy on base, it was never really with no outs or 1 out. I remember 1 inning in the 5th. I think their coaches brought him in for a meeting, tried to talk to them, and then we had a 5-pitch inning.
Yeah,
so that's kind of seemed to kill any sort of energy they had. And after that, I mean, I'm not sure how many I retired in a row. I think the last 3 innings, I'm not sure. Maybe 1 kid got on base.
I think the most you had 7 in a row.
Yeah.
Had 1
so
time.
I mean, again, they never really seemed to get anything going. They tried to bunt. I guess that's kind of where the first few games we messed up. When we gave up runs, they were on errors. For the most part, the series seemed to be like a pitching-dominated series. The first game, we messed up on a little bunt plays. That's how we gave up the runs. Same thing in the second game today, or yesterday. The bunts didn't really seem to get anything going for them.
Yeah.
So game 1 was a 5-2 loss. That was probably it was a very good game. Hallshot was pitching pretty well, and then all of a sudden, things kind of took turn for the worse, where he committed 2 errors in the inning, and like you said, Sean, it seemed like it was a pitching dominant thing. I wasn't at the game in Game 2 when you guys were able to win 5-3, but I guess pass balls was the situation with their catcher Devereaux allowing 6 or 7 pass balls, and you guys were able to capitalize on that, and then yesterday a 2-0 win. But overall, what were you guys able to? I mean, you've been playing baseball for quite some time now. Going from college now here in Danbury, and obviously when you make it into the playoffs, is there that extra jolt of energy, even though you guys are just tired?
Yeah, you get a boost. It's definitely exciting, and you kind of want to see how good your team really is. And guys either show up or they don't, and you see how you're made. And obviously, we put our backs were against the wall, and we came out fighting, and it worked out for us. So hopefully, we keep the momentum and stay strong through the next couple series.
Let's talk about this series coming up tonight up at North Adams. The series, you guys played 6 times throughout the course of the series. You guys split 3 games each. So what are you guys looking into here for tonight? Because it's still a 3-game set. Big game here. And obviously with Bristol, there wasn't any home field advantage until the final game, when it was all the marbles. So what are you guys looking to get into here tonight, and what's the game plan?
Our game plan is to go in there and absolutely destroy them. I'll be honest, I absolutely hate this team. They're pretty cocky and arrogant, so I kind of just want to go in there and show them who's boss. We'll see what happens.
He's from Tennessee, folks, so he kind of just speaks whatever it is. Sean, what do you think?
The last game, we kind of seemed to fall apart in the 5th inning. That was the game I pitched. It was a close game for the most part, 2-1. We never really jumped on top of them. We seemed to kind of kill our own rallies. We got thrown out stealing and made a couple of mistakes like that. The umps didn't really help us out either. So hopefully the offense turns around. We have a big offensive spark early in the game and kind of run their momentum down. But we got momentum on our side right now, and hopefully our pitching stays stellar. And I think we'll come out with a win.
Well, I think you guys should have some good energy coming off of last night's victory, and a nice smooth bus ride up there, handle there, and then come back on Friday and try to take care of business. Let's take a couple steps back. I like to get to the whole point of the show is to get to know you guys. So this is the first time you guys have been on the show, so we take a couple steps back. We're going to talk about your school. Mike, we'll start with you first. You go to the University of Kentucky. You're going to be a junior this season.
Correct.
You're from Knoxville, Tennessee. Talk about choosing Kentucky,
All right.
and then talk about how you found your way up here in Danbury.
Whenever I was a little kid, I was fond of Kentucky basketball, and it came part of me, I guess you can say. And through high school, I wasn't thinking about colleges or anything. I was just thinking about playing. And then the opportunity came senior year where I got an offer from him, and I was like, I guess this is my destiny to go there. So ended up going there. Played my first 2 years. Didn't play a lot my freshman year. Played a little more my sophomore year. Got more comfortable with the system and stuff, like our coaches. And we don't really get to choose where we play summer ball. Our coaches kind of choose for us. So they told me I was coming here, and I was looking forward to it, and that's how I got here.
So was there a big transition going from Tennessee, I've never been there before, to Danbury, Connecticut?
Huge difference. It's just a different lifestyle. I don't know how to explain it, but
Fast-paced?
Fast-paced, no yes ma'am, no sir. It's just different. I don't know how to explain it, but I like it's a change, and I like it. So
The Southern hospitality doesn't find its way to the Northeast.
no, definitely not. But it's a good change for me, so I like it.
Sean, you didn't go too far. You're from Mamaroneck, New York, probably about, on a good day, maybe about an hour away from here. You're sophomore down at St. John's, so you pitch in the city, unlike pitching in Tennessee, so that's got to be a little bit different. Talk about how you chose St. John's, and then especially baseball program there. They got a pretty prestigious baseball program, but like I said, you're pitching in the largest city in the world.
Yeah. I committed really early, actually. It was my junior year when I committed. I always knew I wanted to stay close to home, and when St. John's offered me, I guess they were the best program close to home, so there really wasn't any much thinking involved in it. It really wasn't a big change for me, obviously. I've always been close to the city my whole life. It's probably a 25, 30-minute drive from my house to St. John's. I really like the school a lot. I had a good time this year. It was a little bit to get used to the transition, a lot more work. I've never really played baseball in the winter. I don't know what Mike's like. For me, it was always like take 4 months off in the winter and then start throwing in February. And I guess the biggest part to me was, keeping my arm loose the entire winter and just throwing consistently for an entire year. That was new. As far as the season went, I started off in the bullpen. I didn't really do that well the first half of the year. My area was like up to 12 or something like that. Wow. I was like 1-1. wasn't doing that well. And then I had a few good games out of the pen in relief. They decided to make me a weekday starter. My season kind of turned around from there. I ended up pitching in the Big East tournament and then pitched in the regionals too, started both games. So had a fun year and excited for next year.
That was the same thing as Mike. Your coach was just like, hey, you're going to Danbury?
At the beginning of the year, my coaches came up to me and Jimmy Brennan, and they said, we both have contracts for you guys in Danbury if you're interested. And I absolutely wanted to stay close to home, so didn't even think about it, said yes, and I'm having a great time here. Haven't regretted it at all.
What a lot of baseball players from the Northeast tend to try to go south or go west because you can play baseball year-round. So when you kind of came to that thought process, was it really more of your education and I'm a good baseball player, or was baseball first and St. John's has a good program?
I mean, it was a little bit of everything. As far as the weather goes, I've always felt comfortable in like a cold climate setting. For me, pitching in 40 degrees is no different than pitching in like 80 degrees.
Yeah.
I'm not actually a fan of the heat. I feel like it tires me a little bit more. But I mean, academically, I'm having a good time at St. John's. It's not that much of a struggle, but then again, it's college, so it's not that easy. Baseball-wise, I mean, you can't really find a better program in the Northeast. UConn's up there, but I mean, this year, for example, we came out on top. So
yeah. No, the Big East is fairly strong. Obviously known for their basketball programs, but moving up in other sports. I talked to Chev. I ask him this question all the time. The chemistry for you guys has got to be the most difficult thing because you're coming from a variety of different schools. You come together, your common denominator is baseball, but you guys don't know each other. So at what point during the season did you guys feel like, all right, we're finally a team?
I think instantly we all kind of clicked in a way, but there was a couple guys that just didn't fit in, and you kind of just accept them for who they are. And as the season went on, we got closer as a unit. We still don't like Catalina that much, but we're getting better at it. And then Giannis came in; he was all right, but overall, I like our whole team, so there's no complaints.
Yeah, you guys. Chev talks about how you guys torture the new guy coming on in. Sean, was there like a game or a specific date or maybe a bus trip that you kind of thought that things started gelling together?
I guess for me, when we started playing Mafia on the bus, the team kind of started to bond. Joanne hates Mafia. The first time we tried to play, she pulled over the bus and yelled at me and said, if you try to play Mafia, I'm not driving. But after that, it's basically a game of just mindless banter, yelling at people for no apparent reason, and that kind of brought us together. I guess the big relationship thing for me would be the pitcher-catcher relationship.
Yep.
That's kind of a new thing to get used to. But the first game I came out and I threw against Keene, I threw to Mike, and he was spot on with all his calls. I never really had to shake him off at all. And from then on, I mean, I've agreed with everything.
All right. So you talked about the pitcher-catcher relationship. Right before a game, do you guys, hey, what's the game plan? What do we want to do? And then for you, from a catching standpoint, you need to have the greatest memory bank possible because you have 9 guys to remember, and then you have to remember, hey, how did we pitch this guy? Did we start him off with a fastball? Did we go with a breaking ball this time?
Yeah.
So how do you do that? And do you guys talk prior to the game? What's the game plan? We're going to a game today. You guys, last night, let's take last night, for example. You guys have an elimination game. It's either win or go home. So what did you guys do prior to the game? Did you chat? Do you sit down for 20 minutes? Do you sit down for an hour? Is it like 30 seconds, hey, good luck?
Pretty much, I let him do his thing and I do my thing, and then we go to the bullpen. I evaluate his weaknesses and his strengths for the day, and then we go over pitches and the signs we're going to go over when a runner's on scoring position and stuff. But pretty much, I let him stay in his self and I stay in myself, and then when the game comes, I just evaluate the hitters of what they've done and what he's doing well at the time, and we just work together like that.
Is there anything that you do special to kind of remember, hey, we started this guy off with a fastball, he's the second batter, and then now all of a sudden you get back to him, and especially the way Sean was pitching last night, you didn't see guys until a couple innings gone by.
You just have to show them different looks and different sequences and see what they swung at last at bat or what they bat speed or where they're at the plate. And Sean was on all day, so I just had to call it and he threw it where it was, and that's all there was to it. And threw one hell of a game, so it was awesome.
Do you have any memory, too, from a pitching standpoint? Do you remember how you started a guy off or, what you used to strike him out?
I will for the most part, but I mean, Mike is so good at that I don't even have to think about it sometimes. I mean, he'll come up to the mound and he'll be like, listen, this next guy up doesn't like inside pitches. The next guy up can't hit a curveball. The next guy up, he'll just foul off changeups all day. And, I mean, for the most part, it makes my job easier. I don't have to think. I just kind of look in there, get the sign, and throw it. And, I mean, that's the great part about Mike is that, I don't have to think at all. He helps me out a lot there.
All right, finally, the season has been going well. Yesterday probably was the first time that I saw a lot of unfamiliar faces. So people are starting to hear the buzz. I don't know how they're getting it, whether it's the newspaper, whether it's this show here on the Westerners Roundup. But how is it kind of playing in front of the crowd? I mean, they were living and dying on every pitch. And then when you guys were able to muster 2 runs across the plate, I mean, the place went crazy.
Yeah, fans are always a benefit. I always feed off fans. I like them. I think it's a good thing. Even if they're not for you, the boos help you out too. But when the game starts, I don't really hear anything. It's like between the lines, you don't hear anything. The boos or the cheers, so I don't really look over there.
What about for you? You're on the hill the entire time.
I mean, the same thing. I don't really hear that much. Occasionally I'll hear, a little bit of a yell here and there from some jerk in the stands. But for the most part, I mean, I love the atmosphere. It was great seeing that many people there, and, hopefully we can bring it back home tomorrow and get even more fans.
All right. Well, that's Mike Williams and Sean Hagen. Hagen was the stud yesterday through 9 innings, complete game. And was that your first or second? They gave me the statistics all jumbled up. So was that your first or second complete game?
That was my first one.
First complete game. Better time to do it, right?
Yeah.
All right. So that's Sean Hagen and Mike Williams. We're going to take a quick break, and then we're going to get these boys out of here, and we're going to wind up bringing on in Jamie Shevchik, talk to the manager, and see what the game plan is coming up for North Adams here tonight. We'll take a quick break right here on the Westerners Roundup.
Hi, welcome to Community Access Channel 23. Let's go on inside and see what's going on.
Dream big.
Hey, it's Big T here telling you to dream big.
Hey, at Channel 23, you can dream big and direct your own show.
Dream big.
We want you to all dream big.
We
Dream big.
Cable Access, Channel 23, dream big.
Call us today at 203-792-1265 and find out how you can dream big at Channel 23.
Back here in the Westerners Roundup with Brian Irizzary. The boys heading on off, going to grab some food before they get on a bus to head up to North Adams to begin the semifinals between the Steeple Cats and your Danbury Westerners. So I want to thank Sean Hagen and Mike Williams for stopping on by. Have Jamie Shevchik with us. He has his 7-year-old daughter with him in Brielle, and we're going to talk a little bit about baseball. Great game yesterday. Sean was absolutely fantastic. The offense was there. You guys were able to score 2 runs, but overall you did what you had to do and you move on to the semifinals, so it was a success.
Absolutely. To get to the next round is something that our goal in the beginning of the year was to get to the playoffs, and anything else after that was just an added bonus. I mean, getting through the first round, now the lights at the end of the tunnel. Our goal now is to get into win the divisional championship and get into the finals.
Talk about, we were talking off the air, and I mentioned to the guys too as well, that Bristol just at some point was panicking, swinging at first pitches, quick outs. He had retired 7 in a row at one point, and then just looking at their demeanor, on their body language on the bench, looked like they kind of just packed it on in. At what point did you realize that I think we got these guys, even though there was only 1 run or maybe 2 runs up on the board?
After the game 1 of the series, Bristol had all the momentum, and in the post-game huddle afterwards, I pretty much told our guys that our backs are against the wall, and now is a good time to see what kind of character and what kind of heart our guys have to bounce back and win these next 2. When we went up to Bristol the other night, it was one of the best games that I've seen, intense from the start of the game all the way up through inning 9, and at any point, anybody could have won that game. But we held on to it. After that win, it literally sucked the life out of Bristol. When they had to come back down to Danbury yesterday, as soon as we put that first run up on the board, it's almost like the wind was taken out of their sails. Getting into the 5th inning, they knew that Hagen had his pretty good stuff, and it was almost like They were really pressing. They were taking bad approaches at the plate. And halfway through that game, I was comfortable that we had it in hand, but in that kind of atmosphere, it could have changed at any time.
At what point did you say going into the playoffs to these guys? We talked about how they've been playing baseball for so long and they're tired, and now the postseason. Yeah, that was a goal of yours, but really they're kind of running on empty. So was there anything extra that you said to them? Hey, this is what we've played for, and let's finish this strong.
Absolutely. Our guys know that I'm brutally honest with them anytime that we talk. And when we met prior to Game 1, what I told a lot of those guys was, hey, let's take a step back here and kind of look at what the reality of this whole thing is. Dave Chokey, Binghamton University. I said, Dave, you're never going to get to Omaha in the next 2 years. Probably 20 out of our 26 guys are never going to have the opportunity to play for a national championship in college. Mm-hmm. It's just the way it is. There might be 1 or 2 guys that have a small percentage of a shot to get to Omaha or get to that thing. So, and you might never play in a meaningful game ever again in your entire lives. So let's take this series and this next week as our Omaha. Whether you play Legion baseball, Little League baseball, college baseball, you win a championship to win a championship. No matter what the outcome is, you play the game for the right reason. And so if this is going to be it for us, and for a lot of us, this is going to be it, we might as well go out there and do what we can and get this championship.
Let's take a step back and let's go to Game 1. It was a 5-2 loss. Hochschild was on the bump, pitched awesome. And then in the 7th inning, the easy task and bunt back, he gets the ball, and he thinks about it too much and just, throws it wide, and he committed 2 errors on the same play. So from that standpoint where he had pitched so well and then he causes his own demise, how do you lift someone up like that because you guys wound up losing that ball game 5-2 when in reality you were in it for the entire time, then just a couple bad throws?
We were in it. We came out. We made a few mistakes, and even after Game 2, you take those first 2 games and you put them together, and we needed to hit the ball 350 feet to score. Bristol, through those first 2 games, needed to hit the ball 6 feet to score. Yeah. And that's what happened for the first 2 games. And the wheels came off, and we couldn't make the basic fundamental play. And if we did, there is no Game 3. We wrap up that Game 1. But basic fundamental baseball came back to bite us a little bit, and we just didn't play. We didn't play defense, and we didn't do enough. We did enough to lose that game, and they did just enough to win. But even coming back into yesterday, we played great defense yesterday. Made a couple mistakes early, but we recovered, and we recovered because our pitcher kept his composure.
Bottom line, you guys had a great game, great series. You're able to win it at home. And I was mentioning to the guys, maybe it was just me, I saw a lot of unfamiliar faces yesterday in the crowd. So I don't know how they found out about it, whether it's the coverage that they're getting in the newspaper or you guys were making phone calls. But great crowd. They were living and dying on every pitch. And, it seems like every time you guys are coming back home now, there's more and more people that are coming out.
Our pitching coach, Sean Fesh, leaned over probably in about the 4th or 5th inning yesterday, and he said, hey, there's a lot of people here, and there's a lot of faces in the stands that I've never seen before. Yeah. And I don't know who they were, I don't know where they came from, I don't know how they found out about the game, but it was nice. And me personally, I think that our players feed off how many people are in the stands. You get those games where there's 15, 20, 30 people in the stands, it just sucks the life out of you, and there's no energy, the atmosphere is all different, and you're playing in front of a big crowd that's into it. To me, I think our guys feed off that a little more.
All right, so today you got a big game. You don't skip a beat. You have a big win yesterday. Seal off, handle Bristol. They're done with. They're going home. Now you travel out to Massachusetts, North Adams Steeplecats. Guys met 6 times during the season, split 3 games each. As Sean and also Mike spoke vocally. I don't think the 2 teams like each other. What's the game plan going in for tonight to make sure that you handle business like you did on the road up in Muzzy Field?
We've battled with these guys all year, and there's no love lost, that's for sure. We've had some pretty intense games, and there's 2 good things that are going to come out of going into the series. Number 1, we're riding some momentum going into this series, and number 2, we've learned that if we lose Game 1, we're not out. We lose Game 2, if we win Game 1, whatever it might be, we're never out of this until it's over. Our backs were against the wall against Bristol. We came back, we fought back, get 2 in a row. So I don't think this series is going to come down to the wire. I don't think it's going to be handled in 2 games. If history repeats itself here the way we've been playing each other all year long, it's going to be a 3-game series. I would love it to be us on top in 2, but it's going to be a battle, and it's going to be a very, very intense series.
Who's on the hill tonight?
Mike Anarumo is going tonight. He's had a couple of spot starts here and there. We're going to patch it together if we can. We're hoping that he gets through 4 or 5 and kind of patch it with our bullpen. And we need to flip our starting rotation back over again with Hochschild and Kilpatrick. Probably not in Game 2, but in Game 3, if needed.
So what happens tonight? You're going to try to patch it up. Hopefully Anarumo can go, the 4 innings, the 5 innings, and then you'll have some guys come out of the bullpen. But looking to Friday, who's your starter?
Again, we're going to have to see on who throws today. We lost a couple starters, starting pitching, over the past few weeks, and we've had a few bullpen days where we went out there and threw everybody 2 innings and had some success doing it. So Anarumo is going to start today, and we're going to see how far he can go, but we're not going to name a starter for tomorrow's game until we can figure out, get through today. And I think this series, with everybody using their 1, 2, and 3, it's going to come down to now whose bullpen and whose 4, 5, 6 starter is going to keep him in a game.
Let's talk about a couple guys that are struggling. Thor Meeks was red hot, building up his batting average, going on him. He's ice cold now. And then Derek Ingwe's just having some difficulty seeing the ball, so he's now batting in the 9 hole. These guys helped you get to where you are now, and right now they're just struggling. What do they need? Do they need to lay down a bunt just to get the hand-eye coordination back?
They need to either lay it on a bunt, they need to work themselves into good at-bats, and I think they're just pressing. I can put Jimmy Brennan in that mix as well. He's struggled for the past few weeks, but there's some things that they add. You might not see it number-wise offensively, but, it's character guys. It's guys that want to be in there. It's guys that have, fought through this entire season one way or another. Defensively, Jimmy Brennan, we get a whole lot more out of him. He actually probably ends up saving us a run or 2 per game. But, we're going to stick with those guys, and they've got to find that way to come out of that funk. And if they're going to do it, not a better time to do it than today.
I think the defense has stayed pretty consistent for you. A couple miscues here and there, but overall, solid. Right-hand side of the infield, I think, is just a straight wall. And the outfield has probably been the best that we've seen all season long. So do you guys pride yourself, strictly on the defense, and the offense will just kind of feed off the defense and the pitching?
Offensively, we've been struggling. We're going to have to rely on good, strong pitching. We're going to need that good pitching to get us through, the rest of the series.
All right, well, that's Jamie Shevchik, and we also had Mike Williams and Sean Hagen. I want to thank these guys. They're going to catch a bus to head up to North Adams to take on the Steeple Cats. The semifinals of the NECBL 2010 season underway tonight. It'll be a 6:30, 7 o'clock start from North Adams. You can catch all the action at DanburyWesterners.com, and make sure to be at Rogers Park on Friday as the boys will come back for game number 2 against North Adams. I'm Brian Irizzary, and this is another edition of the Westerners Roundup.